Oh hey, this is Matt Fetcher from AudioKit. Let's get started.
Today I have an interview with Joshua Hodge. Josh was an international touring DJ and producer. Over the past year, he's been making a series of free video tutorials to teach you how to code, how to make VSTs, how to use JUCE, which is the language that apps like Korg and Moog and Audio Damage make their iOS apps in. And you can learn all this for free. His courses are so popular that they're taught in college courses now.
If I teach you how to code, it's like, if you have the potential to build something that can change something in your community, it can change the world,
Well said, Josh. You all are going to want to watch this entire video because it's amazing. So let's get started. Josh, believe it or not, has made over 60 videos. He's made videos every week. He's really active in the UK community, the European community for audio development for JUCE. He was just at a music hack day this past weekend. I wish there was someone like this when I was learning JUCE, maybe like in 2011. It would have been a whole lot easier. But for now, all of you are really lucky because you can watch these videos and get started.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Josh. I run a YouTube channel called The Audio Programmer, as well as a discussion group. I'm here with AudioKit with Matthew, and I'm really honored to be here. Do you go by Matt or Matthew?
I go by Matthew just because every time I say Matt, people think I'm saying Pat. So.
That's great. We have a discussion group on Discord as well. We have over 400 developers on the Discord chat, and everybody is people from all around the world. I mean, everywhere from Australia to Hong Kong to the US and South America, and all different levels, from people that are doing DSP as a job all the way down to teenagers that aren't even starting to code yet, and they're just trying to kind of get their feet wet, really see what it's all about. Seeing like just that exchange that's happening, especially between professionals and people that are just kind of upstarts and just like really kind of newcomers to the game, is just really like excited. That's really exciting for me to see, those people that have been doing it for 15, 20 years, and they're like really helping the newcomers along and helping them kind of get going, and that is like incredible to me.
Cool. For those watching, I'll put the link in the description here so you can jump in there and get started. Did you go to school for audio programming? I'm seeing some turntables in your background. Were you a DJ? How did you get started?
Yeah. So the craziest thing that will probably be the biggest kind of surprise for the people that are watching this is that I've really only been programming for about 2.5 years. And that really what happened, so I come from a DJing background. Celebrate. Like I was saying to you earlier, I basically got here to England with the U.S. Air Force. I used to be in the Air Force, and then I got out, and DJing really started taking off. And I've had the fortune to have played around the world and toured all around the world, and that has been like a really big influence on me. But when there was a point where I think the DJing business started changing a little bit, or maybe it just felt like, it wasn't the thing that really like kind of stimulated me as much anymore. And I just wanted to do something that was a little bit more. And I had money that was set aside for me from the time that I was in the Air Force. The Montgomery GI Bill is called. And a program came up for a university in London called Goldsmiths, and the program was actually called Music Computing. And it doesn't really teach you how to build specifically VSTs, but it's more like kind of like a DSP it's kind of a programming course for people that are coming from creative backgrounds, so like artists and musicians, and it takes a really different kind of trajectory than a normal kind of computer science course. So it's kind of a little bit of music, a lot of computer science type stuff, but it doesn't really put you through the same courses like algorithms, data structures, that sort of thing.
Wow, that's intense. I'm trying to unpack all that. You said you toured the world as a DJ, and you thought writing music code was more exciting. Or more
Yeah.
I think a lot of programmers would dream of touring the world as an international DJ.
You know what? It's crazy because I have this story. I've told it a couple of times, but it's absolutely true. One time I was in Kenya, and basically I was touring through there. And if you've ever been to like any sort of third world country, it can be quite shocking, going to another country, seeing like the level of poverty that, some of these places have. And I just remember there was like this kind of a feeling that I felt like, you know what, like, this is great that, I'm here and I'm DJing, and, I come from like a small town in Pennsylvania, and, here I am in Kenya DJing, but, wouldn't it be great if I had like a real skill, like a doctor or like somebody that could like actually really do something that actually really kind of made a difference, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like coding kind of gives me that. If I teach you how to code, it's like, if you have the potential to build something that can change something in your community, it can change the world, I mean, that sounds a little bit kind of, I don't know, maybe a little bit kind of idealistic, but that, yeah, you do have the power to do that. You have the power to actually build something that really can actually tangibly make a difference.
That's really well said. And have the opportunity to give back and empower others and provide that upward mobility through teaching people to code.
Mm-hmm.
And it must be so amazing to hear people who's, they're writing their first apps from watching your videos.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had, I've had people that have written me and they've said that they've referenced me in their dissertations. And I've had university professors that they show my videos like in their university courses, and people that have said that they've made a lot of money, just based, for like jobs based off of, the tutorials that I've made. So it's like, wow, it's incredible, man.
Coming from the south side, but the slang get over, got zebra in my house.
Yeah. So one thing that I would say, like coming from a music background, is that I spent a lot of time producing and DJing, and there were a lot of hours put in, and I really put in this hustle, and that there were times where I was really working really super hard and nothing was really coming out of it. Because, with music, you have, a lot of different factors. You have external factors that, have to be in place for things to work right sometimes, like the timing of the type of music, and a lot of luck, man, a lot of luck, like the release date, you got to have the right management in place. You got to have the right kind of place. I'm talking about to be like, to do something commercially successful. For me, like, I found a real, like some people ask me like, well, what really motivates you? What keeps you like really motivated to keep doing videos and to keep doing what you're doing? And I'm like, you know what, like with code, I love it because it's like when you put in the work and you like really know your stuff and you really know how to do something, it's like that will land you in a good place. Like if you're like a shit hot C++ developer and you really know, what you're doing, and, and you're not an asshole, as well, then, and you know how to work with other people and play nicely with other people, like you will find something, you'll find something and you will get paid for your knowledge. Like music is not like that, like look at how many talented singers there are out there, talented like musicians that are out there in the world that are, that are doing these amazing videos. And, it's like, they aren't being paid properly for like the stuff, for their talent and for all the knowledge that they have. Coding is like, I'm actually, like, especially with the videos, it's like, I'm actually putting the effort in and I'm getting this kind of response back. Like that is very motivating to me.
Celebrate.
So people are probably really inspired by your success story. What's some actionable advice for people learning audio programming right now?
Probably the biggest piece of advice that I could give you that's really actionable is keep it simple. Like to start off with, you got to keep it super, super simple, and, and that's a piece of advice that I try to follow for myself. I'm not advanced. I would not call myself advanced by any means, but in terms of the way that I think about building something, it always starts off with the most basic step, which would be like probably like getting audio out of the speakers, and so I think that I see a lot of people come in with really kind of high ambitions, and they say, okay, cool. I'm just getting into audio dev for my first project. I'd like to build something like Serum, or I'd like to build something like Massive. And, saying like, do you know how to like build an oscillator? Do you know how to like do like, a sine wave wavetable? Because it starts from those very basic building blocks, and just getting like a sine wave through your speaker, trying to get it to, to actually go on and off when you press a key on a MIDI keyboard. That is kind of where things start. So the biggest actionable piece of advice that I could give you is start with something simple, and start with something that actually compiles, actually works. A lot of people, they try to do something really complex, and it looks impressive, the code looks impressive and everything, and then it's like it doesn't compile, or it doesn't work. That's no good to anybody. You got to build something simple that works.
That is the perfect getting started advice. And for those watching, you can see on Josh's channel how to take those first steps, build those first building blocks, how to build an oscillator, how to get sound output. You got to start with the fundamentals. And building on what he said, I would also suggest just shipping something. Building a really simple synth. Maybe just give it away for free and get it out there and go through that whole process. It's such, a morality boost to actually finish something. Because otherwise, I hear so many stories of people that spend years working on things before they even let someone see it, and they lose the motivation, or by the time they release it, they were doing something wrong. But if you release it, you get that feedback right away about what you're doing right or wrong, and you're like, hey, I finished something, let's move on to the next thing.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, and if I think coming from a music production background for myself, one of the biggest pieces of advice that I could probably give is that, producers, 9 times out of 10, they want something simple, that, like if you look at like Dada Life sausage fattener, like that was like something that, every electro house producer was like putting on their track. It's 2 knobs, it's 2 knobs that you turn that like give a little bit of distortion. I'm not saying that it has to be as simple as 2 knobs, but that people like interfaces, and they like things that they can pull up on the screen, and it's like they can start going to town right away, not something that they need a manual to actually kind of use, so build simple stuff.
Yeah, and building on that, a couple weeks ago, I did an interview with Matt, who's the creator of Beatmaker 3, and he dropped some knowledge that 80% of app features aren't used by users. So they only use 20%. So concentrate on that 20% that's most useful to your app and unique to your app.
That's incredible. Wow, that blows me away. But it's the truth. It's the absolute truth. That people want some. Especially working producers. A lot of working producers, they don't have a lot of time to really sit and tinker around and kind of experiment on things. It's just they need the thing that they need, and they're just going to pull for the first plugin that is able to deliver it the quickest. So yeah, try to keep it simple.
A lot of people think like, these big stars and superstar producers have all this time, but they have deadlines. They might have to deliver like 3 tracks in 24 hours.
Producers don't have, like working producers don't have any time, they're always producing, just like developers, it's like don't have a lot of free time, always coding, always trying to work on a project, work on the next thing, time is, time and information is like, we're in an age of information overload where, all this information is trying to get in, and you got to like filter it out. And it's like time is limited. Everybody's trying to go and do their thing. They're just trying to grab that thing and, look at it, say, cool, I know where the oscillator is. I know where the filter is. Boom. I'm making a sound, not sitting there and staring at it for 10 minutes.
Absolutely. And what you just said kind of resonates with me. I think, when it comes to building synths in particular, you should start with the oscillator and filter sound. If you have a great sounding oscillators and great sounding filter, then everything else is kind of icing on the cake.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's all about sound quality. There's so many synthesizers out there, and it is really about like getting the quality of that, especially the quality of the filter, and the usability is super important.
Have you got into iOS programming at all, or is it mainly VSTs?
Basically, I got the new Model D that came out, and I was just checking that out, and I don't know why. I just, I guess coming from like just a DAW, just on your desktop or laptop type of perspective, I don't know why I just didn't ever really download anything for the phone or for, on my iPad or anything. But when I downloaded it, I was like, oh, I can't believe what I'm actually missing. This is incredible. It just had like a different kind of feeling to it, I think, than just having a traditional kind of, VST in your DAW, because it just felt like you had something separate, and that it was, I don't know how to explain it, especially when I was like producing music really heavily for a living and stuff, that, a lot of producers, they tend to go for the same tools, they go for the same sounds. And it felt like with, all this stuff that was coming out for iOS that I was taking a look at, it just felt like it was just this whole other world. And it just opened you up to all kinds of different tools that allowed you to maybe get into something that's a little bit more unique or more kind of unconventional, than what you would just normally get with a VST, I guess.
My house on the yeah, coming from the south side with the slang ghetto. I got separate.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I think that's something that I see a lot, with the channel, is that, people, they come in. I mean, there are a couple things that I see, but one of them is that sometimes people come in and, they're afraid, they want to know kind of the kind of quote unquote right way to do things. And that, sometimes it's about really discovering that for yourself, discovering that process for yourself. And, rather than, every time you get kind of an error or you run into a roadblock, running straight to a forum or running straight to the Discord chat and saying, I got an out of bounds error, or I've got this, or I've got that. Sometimes it's like, what, like, a big problem, a big part of that is really being able to get into that process, really figure out what's going on, and then being able to change, being able to adjust your code. Don't be afraid of kind of being stuck, or, of like, experimenting with something and running into something that's kind of unexpected. Get out there and experiment, kind of throw paint at the wall, see what happens, basically.
Yeah, and don't be embarrassed of writing code. Just write code. And so many people, approach AudioKit, they want to contribute, but they're embarrassed about their code. Just get it out there. You can't improve until you show others your code.
I think sometimes a big part of that, and this is something that, I really wanted to focus on when I started like the discussion group aspect of the channel, which was that, if you go to some of these computer science forums or coding forums, they kind of have this kind of tough love type of approach to things, where it's like, dummy, don't you know that, that this is supposed to be written this way, or, that, and I think that really leads to a lot of fear of making mistakes. And that, I think that there should be more kind of forums and platforms where, where it's kind of built on more kind of positivity, I guess, where, people are encouraged to, go out there and make mistakes and stuff. There's a good approach of like really teaching people kind of the fish, so to speak. You give a person a fish, they can eat for a day. You teach a person the fish, that type of approach. So, I try to really kind of say, what, like, rather than, I can give you kind of a little tip here, but it's really important for you to like really get into that process of like really kind of trying to solve that problem for yourself, but approaching that in a positive manner, rather than saying like, don't you know that? Like that's just not the way, especially when you're dealing with somebody that's young, just getting into coding or getting into any skill. The whole kind of ethos of the system is, a positive one and an encouraging one.
Absolutely. And I'm sure everyone watching, they're all positive developers who have empathy and remember what it was like when they were learning things.
You have people that are coming from all different walks of life, all different types of backgrounds, so sometimes it's like you got to just like kind of take it down a notch, a couple notches, rather than like jumping in straight, and just being a little bit tactful, so sometimes I have to come in and say, yo, just chill out, man. Like, like this is probably 15 or 16-year-old kid, like trying to, just, you don't know what these, we've had people in there that have come in with, some sort of mental disability, or, that come, like I said, come from all different backgrounds. So sometimes it's like, be careful, because what you say might really affect the way that, that person responds. Yeah. Be positive.
Yeah, be positive. What a great reminder. So yeah, and I guess probably the best advice is for them just to start and then learn the things as they need them, versus the whole paralysis by information. Because if you just start reading and reading and reading, you'll never, it's a bottomless hole. You could spend 10 years and still never, get started.
A lot of times that when people come into audio dev that I've seen, they come from either a music production background, or they come from some sort of music background, or they're really bringing something to the table already. Maybe they come from, electronics engineering. And what I normally say is, okay, whatever you have there that you're kind of bringing to the table already, try to build something around that. So, like yesterday in my talk, I was using a example of a musician. Like, well, if you're a musician, then you already know something about kind of music theory and about music notation. So that might be a place where you can kind of, set your camp and really say, okay, I'm going to start here and build, something based off the knowledge that I already have. And then, try to expand out from that.
Yeah, build on your strengths. Don't worry about your weaknesses, because everyone has weaknesses. Or you could even partner with someone to handle the things you don't know.
Yeah. Don't worry about your weaknesses unless you actually need to know about unless you actually need to know them. Then you need to focus on
all my weaknesses, so I just ignore them.
You have to come in understanding that it's a process, that it's not going to happen in one day. It's not going to, just kind of be like a snap of a finger and, everything's going to be there. It's like, you take something and you kind of mold it a little bit, and then you come back the next day, you mold it a little bit more, and it becomes a little bit more like what you would like it to be. Yeah, it's a journey. Life is funny, like, because when I, like I said, when I started the channel a year ago, I did have those fears. I did feel like, oh man, because, I did see, a lot of other forums where people really just kind of, crack down on people that don't really know everything, I guess. And I really felt like, oh, I'm going to get in here and, I'm going to do these videos, and it's not going to be long before I'm going to have, developers come and say, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And, but, what's really weird, life is funny, is that, it's kind of my inexperience became my experience in a way, if that makes any sense. It was like, I think that, maybe some people might have found comfort in the fact that, I'm coming from a perspective that I'm not a super experienced developer, and I'm not afraid to get out there and just say, you know what, like, I don't know, but let's find this out. Let's get in there and let's do this and see, and basically see what happens, see if we can't work out, the issue. And, I think that, I don't know if it did or not, but I would like to think that was kind of a contributing factor in, people's kind of attraction to the channel, seeing like, hey, here's this guy. He doesn't really know it, but, he knows a little bit more than I do, and he's showing it to me, and I'm just going to try it.
Well, that's great life advice. You're dropping all kinds of great knowledge bombs for people. Especially you mentioned my inexperience is my experience. And for those watching, you can apply that to anything you're doing. If you want to make a YouTube channel, or if you're thinking about speaking at your local meetup or Cocoa Heads group, you may be thinking, oh, I'm the least experienced developer here, but you have something that no one else has. You have your story, and your story is going to resonate with other people who have that same story. And you can share your experience of how you solve the issue, which is unique to you, and no one else has that, and it's special. So whatever your skill level, just get out there, share with people, do knowledge, do things like Josh is doing and speak up meetups.
Like if you watch like Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary V, as some people know him, like he's a bit too
king of all media.
Yeah, the king of all media. Like he's a bit, he could be a little bit too like kind of rah for me sometimes. But like a lot of the stuff that he has to say is really on point. Like stuff like, make your weakness your strength. Like I think he was saying on a video not too long ago, like if you look at like Eminem, like that last, he has like a last kind of final freestyle video, of his last battle. And then he's like, in his freestyle, he's like naming all of his weaknesses. Like, yeah, I know I'm white. Yeah, I know I'm this. I know I'm that. And, it's like, once you do that, then it's like, people have nothing else that they can say about you. It's like, I know I don't have the most experience as a developer, and I know, that I don't know everything, but you know what, I'm going to try to show you. And it's like, okay, cool. What can you say about me now? Cause it's like, I've already said, everything that, maybe people, I think sometimes people like are afraid to show, where they fall short. They're like, yeah, I know everything, about development. I know everything there is to know about audio dev. It's like, you know what? Like, you'd probably be better off just saying, I don't know that, but I could go out there. I could try to find it, and, you just got to get out there. And, like I said, life is really unpredictable. I mean, did you think that when I started that channel a year ago, like doing that very first JUCE video, that I think like a year later that I'd be like speaking, at like JUCE's developer meetup on how to get started in audio coding? Like, no way.
Yeah, I'm lucky to get to interview you. You're such a busy guy. I don't have time to talk to the people, but I'm a celebrity now, big shot.
Now the haters are really going to come out. I mean, humility is so huge, like just trying to be humble. I have to put myself in check all the time, because it's like, sometimes it's like, with the channel, the way it's growing and everything, you start kind of, maybe feeling like, you've accomplished, like you've really accomplished something. And it's like, no, it's not. It's not me, it's the community that's accomplished it. It's the, like, especially with the community chat and stuff, it's like really like the experienced developers that have like really kind of come in and really, they're giving their time out of their day. And, and it's the people that really support it, that really make the channel. It just happened to be that, like, for me, that, I just happen to kind of provide that platform. And, so it's really about humility and about like, respect, like respect for like the developers that have been out there, really kind of, doing it. And, that have kind of like, laid the ground, for us, to do these things.
You're doing all this stuff, teaching people how to write their own apps. Tell me a little bit about the apps that you're making.
Yeah. So there are a couple things, there are kind of a couple projects that I've actually got in the works. One of them that I built last year as a project, and then I kind of put it aside just because I'm working on the project for this year. And that is a musical instrument that is designed for the handicap, basically. It's designed to be played with one hand. So it uses like a modified Arduino called a Touchboard. And then you have this paint that is conductive paint. So it has like kind of conductive sensory. So you don't even have to touch the paint. You can actually just hover your hand over it and it senses where your hand is. I made it where you can take a MIDI file and you can bring it in and then it reads all the notes and produces a Markov chain. And then when you hover your hand over the instrument, then it starts playing a sequence of notes, and it's the notes, and the note sequences are similar to the song that you put in, that you put into it, the MIDI file that you put in, but it's not exactly the same. And then I did some where you can like randomize some synth parameters and stuff. And then basically what happens is that you can take your hand and you hover it over this instrument and it plays these notes at random. And then it's a really complicated instrument, I guess. I say build simple stuff. That doesn't sound very simple.
Yeah, it sounds very ambitious.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I have another project that I'm working on this year. This is like my final. I don't know if I should even say this idea, but because I kind of want to really develop it, but I'm going to say it. But basically, I'm working on an app, or I've got it. It works and everything, but basically, I've been developing this app. It has two parts. So it has, and both of them are using machine learning. One of the parts is a scratch classification aspect of the app. So basically, you do one scratch, and like in turntablism DJing, you have different types of scratches. You have like transforms, chirps, flares, crabs, and so you do a scratch. And based off of machine learning and based off of training, it'll actually identify which scratch it is. It does that quite accurately. So yeah. So then there's another aspect of it where it's actual gamification aspect of it, where the idea of it is that it'll be a scratch tutorial app. It'll actually teach you how to scratch. And that it's kind of like the best way I could describe it is kind of like Guitar Hero or DJ Hero, but like with actual DJ equipment. So,
wow, that sounds pretty groundbreaking.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
So
it's becoming a lost art these days.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, it still has a long way to go, but the idea is that normally like in a scratch kind of session, if you have two DJs kind of sessioning together, then what'll happen is that you'll have like maybe 2 bars or 4 bars where one DJ will scratch over like a backbeat and do like a couple different scratches, and then the other DJ will respond with their with like their scratch or like their kind of style or whatever. So the idea of this particular app is you have 2 bars where it'll do a series of scratches, and then the next 2 bars you imitate what the scratches that were happening in the first 2 bars, and then it returns back a score telling you how accurate you were. And then it plays another 2 bars, and then it returns, then you have, then you do the imitation of the second 2 bars.
Wow, that's the best music app idea I've heard like all year.
Really
cool. I'm gonna have to get my turntables out and
yeah. So that's the idea, and it, like I said, it actually works. And now I just have to build some different kind of levels and stuff. So there are a couple different problems with the app at this stage. One thing, scratching is, you can have like 2 scratch techniques or 2 like kind of scratch sounds that sonically, if you're just listening to them, they may sound very similar, but if you actually look at what the DJ is doing, it might be a completely different movement. So there has to be like some sort of visual aspect of it where it actually shows you like what scratch you're supposed to do. But yeah, it's actually working really well.
That's badass. Okay, so you've got all these like incredible ideas. What drives you to keep making these videos every week?
I think the thing that drives me is, one, that there's a really nice community that just keeps growing, and I even had a guy, one of the most inspiring messages for me was actually really early on. There was a guy that he actually messaged me, and he had a problem with JUCE, and I tried to help him out with it, and I think I got him in the right direction. I hope I did. And then he wrote me back a couple of days later, and he said, wanted to just thank you for helping me. As kind of a token of my appreciation, I want to send you my book. And I was like, your book, okay. And he sent me his book. It was Introduction to Sound Processing. Let me see. Introduction to Signal Processing. So he's actually written a book on signal processing, and it turned out that he's a retired professor. He taught at University of Rochester, and that he actually used to work at Bell Labs in the 60s and the 70s. And if you know for people that don't know what Bell Labs is like, they're the ones that are responsible for like first getting music and sounds actually out of a computer. So like really super influential. They've come out with a number of different technologies that we use every day. So I was just like really blown away. So that really was inspirational.
That's exciting. And it's also a great parable to remind people that it's okay to ask for help. Here's a person that's one of the founding fathers of audio signal processing. Basically, literally wrote the book on the subject. Yeah. And he's not afraid to ask questions from,
So this is the book here, Introduction to Signal Processing by Warren Kuntz. And nice. Just take a look at just the depth of, if you can see this, just the depth of the math and the equations and just the algorithms. And, I'm like, this guy, like you said, it's just incredible. It's like, this guy is asking me a question. I've been, at that time, I maybe have been doing C++ for maybe about 6 months or, 6 to 8 months. And I was maybe like less than 5 videos in on my JUCE tutorials. And, so he was asking me this question, and yeah,
and you were able to answer it to his satisfaction.
yeah. I think I was able to get him actually like just pointed in the right direction. And he was just, and he writes me every now and again.
I like to talk about where people live and how that influences where they are. Because you're based in London, where JUCE is based. So what's it like to be around like kind of an epicenter of audio programming in that regards? There's all these conferences and meetups, and there's a huge ecosystem of other developers. Do you get to interact with a lot of them in real life?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting to know quite a few of them, especially people from the team at JUCE and Rolly, and I've been down to Rolly myself, had lunch there, and talked about a lot of ideas, in terms of their their outreach and everything, and it's just really incredible because like at the Audio Developer Conference last year, it's like working as a music producer for years, and like DAWs like Ableton and working, with various plugins. And then you're seeing, the developers that are behind, these products, and you're seeing them walking around, and it's just like mind blowing. You're like, wow, like this is just crazy seeing somebody from like Native Instruments talking about, the way that they approach like analog, virtual analog modeling, and, seeing somebody from, Ableton talking about, the things that they were thinking when they were, coming out with Ableton 10, and, like that is being so like kind of close to people like that is just really like, it's just really like moving for me, so.
Yeah, and it's got to keep you going because you see it every day, as opposed to someone who might be isolated in like Iowa or Zimbabwe, where they might not have that same opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing is that, one of the biggest things, when it comes to having any kind of skill is that, try to get around, even if it's online, just trying to get around other people that are actually like doing that thing that you want to be doing. There's a lot of stuff that, and this is a policy that I still try to follow. Like yesterday for the developer at the developer meetup, right after my talk, there was another guy, Dave Rowland, who was doing a talk on background task management, and basically he got up, and he's like the lead developer for this DAW called Traction, and he started talking. And to be honest, about 90% of it I didn't understand. Like there was a lot of stuff that he was saying that I just wasn't at that level yet. But what you find is that over time, being around those things just piece by piece, they just start to become a little bit more familiar to you. Then you just kind of, you just kind of work at it a little bit more. And then you find over time, that picture starts to become a little bit clearer. So it's important to be around other people that are doing that thing, whether it's coding or whether it's something else, very important.
Absolutely. And for those watching, if you don't live in London or Berlin or San Francisco, there's still opportunities. You can go on meetup.com and just find a programmer meetup. And a lot of cities have creative coding meetups.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Or you could just join the Discord chat that we do as well,
So,
some virtual.
Exactly.
Is that a plug?
400 people.
Yeah.
So, while we're plugging your stuff, I noticed you got a cool like audio programmer T-shirt.
Yeah, that's right. I can send you one.
I will accept that. I'll send you an audio kit shirt when we have them.
Yeah.
People can buy those T-shirts, right, to help the channel. Is that true?
Yeah. So you got two ways. That you can do it. You can either purchase it directly, just like a one-time purchase through my Facebook page for the audio programmer, or you can support it through Patreon. So I think it's like if you do $10 a month, then I'll send you a T-shirt, and I hope that you will just do at least 3 months, just kind of in good faith, that wouldn't leave me out of pocket, so it's not even really about, like the whole channel. I mean, I was really apprehensive about even doing, by the way, we have hoodies as well. So hoodies, yeah, we do hoodies as well. But, all of that stuff with the Patreon channel and all of that I was really I really held off on that, actually doing that, because, it's not really even about the money. It's not it's not about making a profit. Kind of say okay, here's my story. I'm going to come from the heart here and say, I don't know about this, but, I'm going to do my best to just kind of take you along on this journey. And as I'm learning it, I'm going to try to teach you. And that's really all it really came down to.
By donating to what he's doing, if you get value, then you're making it easier for him to keep going and for him to help other people. For that reason, I would encourage everyone to donate to his channel if you've gotten even a little bit of use out of it.
Oh, thanks a lot, man. That really means a lot.
Zebra in my house on an antelope.
Yeah, just, as a message for anybody out there that's developing now or looking to develop, just try to show up every day, and don't, exercise a little bit of patience, and, just keep coming back, you'll be fine. Just keep coming back to it every day, and, it'll work out. Otherwise, come to Matthew and ask him questions, or come to me and ask me questions. And,
here's his home phone number and cell phone.
Facebook knows it already, so just ask Facebook. They'll be able to tell you everything about Matthew.
We got rid of Facebook for audio kits.
Oh, did you really? Wow.
So
that's something, isn't it?
We're taking the plunge. We're just like Elon Musk. So he had 4 million followers. So it's a little.
Elon Musk did. Elon Musk.
Yeah, he got rid of the Tesla and SpaceX Facebook pages.
No, really? Wow. Holy cow. Maybe I should get rid of my audio program.
Yeah, I'm not knocking anyone who keeps their Facebook page, but I'm just saying, at AudioKit, we believe developers should treat people with respect and not steal their data. So
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Oh man. Oh, it's gonna take some.
You want to have a Facebook page? That's cool.
I'm a person that believes in principles as well. I believe in I believe in privacy and I believe in respect as well. And I'm always about like standing up, for what's right. And that's something that I'm gonna have to think.
Hard too, because you might have people who are only on Facebook that might miss out on things too. So.
Yeah, it is but sometimes it's bigger than that. Sometimes it's just I don't know, but that's something to really seriously think about. I wish MySpace came back.
Oh yeah, I would join a new MySpace in a second.
Yeah.
Man, them are praying like which one? Man, them are praying like which one?
This is awesome. What an amazing project led by an amazing person. Check out the audio program on YouTube and don't forget to support them.
This has been Matthew Fetcher. Thanks for watching.
AudioKit is a free and open source project. You can learn more at audiokitpro.com.
Coming from the south side where the slang get old, I got a zebra in my house and coming from the south side where the slang get old, I got a zebra in my house and